Alright, so our presentation is on NIL, name, image, and likeness. What is NIL? NIL refers to the rights of college athletes to profit from their personal brand. This is an opportunity for college athletes to engage in business opportunities such as endorsement deals, social media promotions, and other forms of personal monetization, which were previously restricted by the NCAA. A combination of school policies and state laws dictate what deals athletes can make. Certain states with no oversight, the NCAA has universities that write down their own policies for their student athletes. Some requirements that universities give to student athletes include athletes getting business advice or training before making deals that involve money. State laws often focus on preventing NIL deals from being used as a recruitment tool. Schools are not allowed to pay their student athletes directly, but some states have laws based on how involved the booster club for a school can get. How NIL started. The idea of NIL dates all the way back into the early 2000s when a class action lawsuit was filed that marks the beginning of should college athletes be paid debate. A former UCLA basketball player, Ed O'Bannon, argued that college athletes such as himself should be compensated for the use of their name and image in video games. This lawsuit led to a judge ordering the NCAA to pay over $44 million in attorney's fees and another $1.5 million in costs, and also led to more lawsuits from athletes filing against the NCAA. Nowadays, student athletes can engage in NIL opportunities that are consistent with the law of the state where the school is located. Student athletes who attend a school in a state without any NIL laws can engage in NIL that is up to the school itself and not the state. And then the growth of NIL since the beginning, starting at the low level of $917 million in 2021, NIL experienced some growth each year leading up to a projected $2.55 billion in payments to the college athletes. A large movement occurred when EA Sports presented the video game NCAA college football. Football leads the way by a large margin in NIL compared to other sports including baseball and basketball. And right here is a graph. This is from footballscoop.com. NIL market projections from year one. That's where it started at $917 million, and then it gradually grew little by little each year, and then where the large margin was from year 4 to year 5, that's when the video game was created and launched, and all the athletes started to get their money to them.
Alright, so players who have been penalized pre-NIL deal, this is Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush received upwards of $200,000 at his time at USC. USC was put on probation for 4 years and forced to forfeit their last 2 games of the season in 2004, and they were banned from the college football playoffs for 2 years after that. Reggie Bush was revoked of his Heisman for the top player in college football, and USC was not eligible for a bowl game until the 2010 season. Reggie Bush is considered to be one of, if not the best college football player of all time, and many players were displeased with Reggie Bush not having his Heisman when NIL became a thing again, and Reggie Bush got his Heisman back in April 2024, and Johnny Manziel was one of the first people who said he would boycott the ceremony if he didn't get his trophy back. Cam Newton, there's a little bit more gray area with this one, where Cam Newton's father said that he asked for $100,000 to $180,000 in exchange for his son to play for Mississippi State. He didn't end up going there. He ended up going to Auburn, where he won the national championship in 2010. But before the season, he was suspended for 24 hours. When this step came to light, almost immediately reinstated by the NCAA, seeing that Auburn had no foul play and didn't do anything wrong. From a technical standpoint, it was all his father's work, but they didn't know if it would be weird for them to go to Auburn when they were getting offered $120,000. But they said Auburn didn't do anything wrong.
Okay, so next we have the positives of NIL deals. Starting off, athletes have the power to earn money through endorsements and partnerships, allowing themselves the financial support necessary to be a student athlete with busy schedule, practice times, lifts, what have you. Next we have NIL deals give athletes the first-hand experience in the business world, teaching them to do things like contract negotiation, marketing, and management of their own brand. Student athletes can also promote themselves on social media by simply showing a day in their lives, which can lead to long-term opportunities even after their athletic careers end. And then athletes at smaller universities like Canisius have opportunities to attract to local businesses. NIL deals give student athletes the incentives to perform at higher levels, staying focused on their athletic and academic goals, and maintaining a positive public image. And then lastly, athletes can use money earned to give back to people who help them get to where they are, as well as local communities and charitable causes. And then here we have a list of the top NIL deals of the 24-25 collegiate athletic season. Starting off, number one, we have Arch Manning. He has received $6.5 million in NIL deals. Next we have Cooper Flagg with $4.8 million deals. Carson Beck with $4.3 million. Livy Dunn with $4.1 million. And then lastly, Jeremiah Smith with $4 million on the 24-25 collegiate athletic season. And then, like I said, athletes can give back through charitable causes, and we see this here with 5 different examples, starting off with Dylan Gibbons from Florida State University. Dylan Gibbons started his own nonprofit corporation called Big Man Big Heart Incorporated, with the goal of teaching other NCAA student athletes the value of using their NIL for good and walking them through the process of setting up GoFundMe accounts. Next we have Harry Miller from Ohio State University. Harry Miller donated his NIL earnings to humanitarian efforts in Nicaragua. He also takes annual mission trips to Central America, volunteering his time at schools and distributing food and medicine to underserved families. Nick Evers from the University of Oklahoma. Nick Evers signed a partnership with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and he arranges events, meet and greets, and donates all of his proceeds to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Tyler Linderbaum from University of Iowa. Tyler Linderbaum sold his apparel and donated the raised money to the UI Children's Hospital right across the street from their football stadium. And then lastly, Jack Beck from LSU. Jack Beck signed a partnership with the Dreams Come True Foundation, which grants dreams to children in Louisiana who are battling life-threatening illnesses.
So while there is a lot of positives to the NIL, there is also a lot of negatives. School can now buy the rosters, throw in the top recruits the most money. So this obviously means that only the top schools can afford the best players. Like just this year, the winning team of March Madness will get an extra $300,000 for future NIL deals, just incentivizing this whole pay-to-play thing more. Since our NIL is so new, there really hasn't been enough regulation when it comes to contracts and agreements and how they get paid, when they get paid, and it really hurts the smaller schools who can't afford to pay their players. This completely changes the recruiting process for high school players because a lot of people won't get recruited because they'll just poach somebody from the transfer portal instead because they're a little bit more developed and it's easier to do it that way than all the hard work from high school recruiting. And since there's no loyalty to your school anymore, there's a constant rotation of players in the locker room, which makes it hard to develop players the way you need to. So the transfer portal has made the sole job of a coach to appeal to the athlete 24/7, just like a recruiter, even when they're already on the team. So because players can now transfer at the drop of a hat, just because of a little adversity, or they don't love their playing time, they'll just leave. Roy Hibbert, a 9-year NBA vet, recently just talked in the March Madness tournament about how he almost wanted to leave Georgetown his freshman year when he didn't get any playing time, and he realized that when things get tough, you can't just run away. Acknowledging that there's exceptions to this rule, he knows that the transfer portal has gotten out of hand. Players who are not in this situation, like Roy Hibbert, will just decide to leave their schools. This gives the players entitlement, which teaches them no discipline, and they have no respect for the coaches and just get up and leave. Since players are entering the transfer portal so frequently, it is much more desirable for a school to pay for a quarterback or any position in any sports really in the portal rather than recruiting from a high school. This turns to smaller schools like the conferences in the MAC, American, Sun Belt, Mountain West, into farm teams for schools that can afford the players. And these coaches now at those schools have to sell them on, hey, if you come play for my program for a couple of years or a year or two or whenever, you can then go on and move on to those bigger schools that will give you more money rather than just playing for their program and showing loyalty.
So I'm going to talk about some unique aspects of NIL. So with NIL and transfer portal, there's plenty of different ways that teams can use it to keep the talent even at the smaller schools. For example, we have Teamworks Influencers at Reeves at UB. I know TCU and Florida also uses it, and plenty of other schools too. But it pretty much allows businesses to easily connect with student athletes, and it can pay them for stuff like meet and greets, stuff like that. Also, you can have you can make your own brand on there. It's like, for example, at UB, Sean Dolek and Red Murdoch kind of collabed on a clothing brand. They made like these Bash Bros t-shirts and they sold out like crazy. Also at UB we have the Nickel City Collective, so it's pretty much a way that fans can easily donate. They have a membership, so there's like $10 a month membership, you get a newsletter and a t-shirt, stuff like that. There's also a $250 a month membership that people actually do pay for, but you get like on-field access during the games and stuff during practice. So another unique aspect kind of how people manage their rosters. So it allows a lot of creativity when it comes to eligibility, stuff like that. For example, in our edge room last year, we lost 3-4 guys. Just they graduated, they ran out of eligibility. So we had to take a bunch of freshmen. We ended up taking 3. Those guys weren't ready because obviously the 2 freshmen have to go into their bodies. So we decided to bring in 2 transfer guys. One is named Kobe Stewart, who led the MAC in sacks with 9.5. The other guy was Antonio Colclough from Monmouth. He was kind of a rotational guy for us, but he was very effective, especially in the run game. And obviously there's also 1-year bounce back guys. So it's pretty much guys that get overly recruited out of high school that can bounce back to the G5, FCS level. Eddie Pleasant, a good example of this. He was a Michigan State commit in 2024. He entered the portal after kind of not getting along with his cornerback coach. He's not getting an opportunity to play there. He bounced back to the UB, bounced back to the G5 level at UB, and he played 300-400 snaps for us this year. Another guy would be Solomon Brown. In 21, he committed to Minnesota. After that season, same thing happened, and now he's our starting slot corner. So, another unique aspect is kind of recruiting selling points. So obviously to get committed, you gotta recruit them, you gotta sell your program. So obviously it happens for the bigger schools. They can sell, you can just have a blank paycheck and get there you go. But even at the lower level, you can sell your collectives and stuff like that, like I talked about before. And also you can sell, the potential to go pro. So, with the transfer portal now, there's always guys getting offered a bunch of money to be depth guys at bigger schools, but then they won't have that opportunity to go to the next level. And the practice squad guys make $300 to $400K at the lower to higher level scale. So these guys that play consistently at a G5 level at a high level will get opportunities to go pro. And then our conclusion, so NIL makes college sports just confusing. Makes stats across the country just continuously adjust. Athletes are main winners, obviously, with how much they can profit and grow the brand over time. Athletic programs are really the only ones that are negatively affected, depending on how they come up with solutions. Obviously, the bigger schools are gonna eat up this stuff because they can just pay whoever they want. But there is ways for some smaller programs and they will come up with creative ways to combat it and keep their guys. And it's here to stay. We just have to find more regulations. So there's not much as adjustment to athletic programs, and that's it.